We all love mystery movies, don't we? What we are going to tell you today is a mystery in reality. 1 billion years worth of rocks has mysteriously gone from the Grand Canyon since it was originally described nearly 150 years ago, creating a mystery that has baffled scientists ever since. The scientific community has been rocked by the vast unconformity, but a new find has revealed a massive city hidden beneath the Grand Canyon. Is it a metropolis from the distant past? What is it? Let's find out. Hello friends, welcome back to our channel, The Unknown Facts. Today, we will talk about giant underground city found under the Grand Canyon. We will also be telling you some great facts about the Grand Canyon while discussing the mystery. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on the amazing mysteries of science. Over the course of the past century and a half, people from all corners of the globe have traveled to the Grand Canyon in order to take in its breathtaking scenery. It wasn't until February 26, 1919, that the Grand Canyon was officially designated a national park. Prior to that, it had been protected since 1893 as a reserve and then as a national monument. The most well-known of the giant's underground cities around the turn of the 20th century. It was a remarkable discovery made in the enormous Grand Canyon, and the media picked up on it almost immediately. According to a story that was published in the Gazeta de Arizona on April 5, 1909, the Grand Canyon was the cultural origin of people of cyclopean proportions. This civilization only left a few structures as evidence of its existence, so we can only assume that it no longer exists today. According to the reports, an explorer by the name of G.E. Kincaid made the accidental discovery of a gigantic underground citadel while he was rafting on the Colorado River. Kincaid was a well-known archaeologist who received financial backing from the Smithsonian Institution when he was doing his explorations in the Grand Canyon. The story opens with his explorations. In the early 1900s, Mr. Kincaid, an archaeologist with the Smithsonian Institute, was contracted to find out more about the western states. His travels took him to a number of different places, but just one of them may have contributed to a shift in perception of the Grand Canyon and historical research conducted by government agencies. He started his voyage in Utah, traveling the Green River and the Colorado River via the Canyonlands. He was accompanied on this journey by a friend and a wooden boat. They planned to float down the Colorado River to the bottom of the canyon in order to document this formerly undiscovered and unexplored region, because there were no man-made barriers such as the Lake Powell Dam, which did not exist in 1907. Nature was the only thing that stood in their way. Just recently, a news item was published that mentioned a long-lost city that the author found after traveling by the Lake Powell Dam today. According to the information provided by Discovery and the context in which they were found, the enigmatic entrance to the underground city was located at the terminus of the tunnel that extended more than 1,600 meters below the earth. Kincaid was impressed by how difficult it was to get into the cavern. About 450 meters down the canyon's precipitous wall was where the entrance was located. The area in question belonged to a government-protected zone, and entering it resulted in a monetary penalty. The entrance to the cave was located on a shelf that was hidden from the view of the river due to its location above the shelf. When he saw the chisel marks on the wall just inside the entrance to the city, it piqued his curiosity, and he quickly grabbed his weapon and entered the building. Kincaid continued his explanation by stating that the uncovered architecture provided evidence that the builders of the underground city have a high level of engineering expertise. Description of the city. The central access to the underground city looked like a gigantic camera from which emanated tubes that were akin to the radii of a wheel. Copper weapons and tablets covered in symbols and Egyptian letters were hung on the walls of the main chamber. These decorations were reminiscent of those that may be found in Egypt. Did you know the Grand Canyon itself can influence the weather? The Grand Canyon's elevation ranges from about 2,000 feet to more than 8,000 feet, allowing it to experience a wide range of weather conditions. As a result, for every 1,000 feet lost in height, the temperature rises by 5.5 degrees. Now coming back to the mystery of the Grand Canyon, the finding of mummified bodies within the citadel was yet another remarkable find made by the expedition. None of the mummies that were unearthed measured less than 2.74 meters in length and had dark linen wrappings. Kincaid stated that he used a flashlight and photographed one of them, but none of the alleged photographs could be located. An additional study led to the discovery of fascinating facts regarding the ideas held by the supposed giants of the city. A room located more than 30 meters away from the cave's entrance contains a cross-shaped plant that is tens of meters long and an idol that may have represented the supreme deity of this religious tradition. The idol sat cross-legged and held a lotus or lily flower in each hand, and his face, like the cave carving, had Asian characteristics. Despite the fact that this idol showed a passing similarity to Buddha, researchers of the time were unable to establish with certainty that it was associated with a religious sect. Perhaps an extremely uncommon cultural artifact that is only seldom discovered in archaeological digs, this is the final camera. During the course of the trip, they came across what Professor Kincaid and his colleague S.A. Jordan assumed was a ceremonial crypt at the end of the Great Hall. This is the location where they found the mummies. Sadly, the source offers very little additional information regarding this finding, and there are no official versions of or allusions to this mysterious underground metropolis. The Smithsonian Institution has stated that they are unaware of the existence of the subterranean city. In addition to the Grand Canyon, what other mysteries surround this natural wonder? Amazingly, the answer is yes. There are several of them to choose from. The mystery of cursed objects is yet another fascinating occurrence that has been brought up by a number of Grand Canyon park rangers. According to the rangers, they periodically receive letters or shipments that include artifacts that were taken from the canyon, which they believe to be cursed. It would appear that they take anything they find to keep as a keepsake, but after experiencing some misfortune with it, they send it back through the mail. It is against the law to take anything natural out of the national park, regardless of whether or not it is believed to be cursed. The antiquity of the Grand Canyon can be traced back to the Great Unconformity. Because the rocks themselves cannot be accurately dated, the age of the Grand Canyon can only be hypothesized. There is a substantial disparity between the opinions of those who say the canyon is only 5 to 6 million years old and those who believe it is 70 million years old. When you take into account the fact that the rocks in the canyon are approximately 1,840 million years old, the situation becomes much more problematic. It is much simpler to go to a remote spot if you have heard there was a Bigfoot sighting there. The Grand Canyon is a perfect example of this as well. Sightings of Bigfoot are reported more frequently in the Pacific Northwest. Nonetheless, sightings have also been recorded in the Grand Canyon, despite the fact that none of these sightings can be verified. The mysteries surrounding the Great Unconformity make for fascinating topics of discussion, to say the least. Did you know that scientists can figure out the age of sites like the Grand Canyon by looking at the rocks there? By examining the many layers of rock that make up the canyon's walls, experts are able to determine how long the canyon has been around. The Grand Canyon presents a challenge due to the fact that a sizable section of the rocks that make up its walls appears to be absent. In 1869, John Wesley Powell made the observation that the walls of the canyon were missing numerous strata of the rock that were expected to be there. More than 1 billion years worth of rock has been removed from the walls. In certain locations, rocks that are between 1.4 and 1.8 billion years old have been found just beneath layers that are only 520 million years old. When attempting to determine the age of the rocks in the canyons, this is a crucial factor. Although other hypotheses have been proposed to explain why some portions of the rock have been eroded away, the actual cause of this phenomenon remains unknown. There has been so much of the canyon's history obliterated. This phenomenon, which has only been uncovered in a few locations, is commonly referred to as the Great Unconformity. Caves are another amazing feature that can be found in the Grand Canyon. Although there is a record of somewhat more than 300 caves having been discovered, geologists believe that the canyon could contain as many as 1,000 caves in total. With this, I remember, the Grand Canyon is considerably more extensive than the boundaries of the state of Rhode Island. The Grand Canyon is 277 miles long, 18 miles broad, and a mile deep at its deepest point. In spite of the fact that the park does not encompass the entirety of the canyon, it spans an impressive 1,904 square miles in total. Rhode Island, on the other hand, has a total area of around 1,212 square miles. Conspiracy theory on the underground Egyptian city. This conspiracy theory was initially triggered by a single narrative that was published in the Arizona Gazette. The story was about many explorers. It is stated that in 1909, researchers from the Smithsonian Institution found a mystery network of gigantic caverns. These explorers estimated that 50,000 people might live happily inside the caverns. Additionally, the tunnels were filled to the brim with statues, weapons, seeds, and other types of treasures. In addition, the items were in no way comparable to those that the Native Americans possessed. Rather, the artifacts gave the impression of being Tibetan or Egyptian in origin. Everyone was, very understandably, captivated by the story. Then there is the urban legend that the Grand Canyon conceals an ancient Egyptian city beneath the surface. There are no records of any of the explorers named in the article at the Smithsonian Institute, and there are also no relics from the expedition. Some people think that it was just a ploy by the Gazette to sell more newspapers, while other conspiracy theorists think that the Smithsonian is covering up the tale so that it can fit the traditional narrative. Some people think that the caverns are a getaway to the fourth dimension. Others think that they are a tightly guarded place that no one can enter at the moment. In addition, there are speculations that ancient Egyptian pyramids and relics can be found in a restricted region of the Grand Canyon. It's possible that the cave story was the source of these claims, but even if nobody knows for sure, the fact that these tales and rumors exist in the first place makes for some fascinating hypotheses to explore while you're out exploring. There is no doubt that explorers and scientists will be baffled by the Grand Canyon for a good number of years to come. We have probably only scratched the surface of the canyon's mysteries due to its enormous expanse. Yet there is a good chance that we have only scraped the surface. Therefore, the Grand Canyon is encircled by a number of mysteries, some of which have yet to be solved. And a traveling tip from our side: do you wish to have the canyon to yourself, all to yourself? Head to Weep. A trip to the Toro Weep Overlook provides the opportunity to enjoy the Grand Canyon in a setting that is less crowded, more natural, and more dramatic. At this point, a vertical drop of 3,000 feet reveals breathtaking panoramas of the north rim of the canyon and the Colorado River. Caution is advised, though, as the region can only be reached by navigating challenging roads in a vehicle with high ground clearance. And that brings today's video to a close. Leave a comment below and tell us what you think about the underground city that was discovered with mummies buried in it. We truly hope that you had a good time watching the film. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in our next video.